And welcome to the Dr. Tech Show, where myself, Pauline Roche, and Sweyn Hunter, and sometimes guests, guide you through the world of online communications in a show which was the brainchild of John Popham, the late great internet guru, who was live streaming before anybody else thought it was popular or and became just the thing we do now. So welcome to the show, and we welcome our very special guest today, Dr. Jacqui Taylor. Welcome, Jacqui. How are you, and how's the weather where you are?
I'm grand. I can't give you any clue where I actually am, but sunny, if that helps.
Good. Yeah,
Great
that's good.
to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. And Sweyn, how are you, and where are you, and what's the weather like?
I'm very well. Where am I? I'm in Orkney as usual, in Kirkwall, and it's a lovely kind of overcast but still and warm spring-like day. So we'll have more of this, please.
That sounds lovely. And here in Birmingham, they've got blue skies. My Tibetan flags are sort of gently moving, so a slight breeze. And it's sunny so far, so we're pleased about that. So very welcome to the show, Jacqui. We're going to go through some of our usual dates and stuff. So if you just relax, and we'll come back to you in a few minutes. Thank you very much. Sweyn, lead off with the dates, please.
Okay, so this week we found a couple of awareness days or weeks or whatever, and the first one that we're mentioning is that it's World Autism Acceptance Week from today until the 3rd of April. This was pioneered by the National Autistic Society. I think that's an American national in that case. And then so the week aims to draw attention to the 700,000 people living with autism in the UK, both to educate those unaware of the condition and to help make the world friendlier to those who are affected by it. Embracing and promoting work or school-based initiatives, as well as virtual events, including the chance to run, swim, cycle or walk 7 kilometres, my goodness, during the week to raise money for the 700,000, the NAS, National Autism Society, is looking... Oh, I'm making a real mess of this. To do that, they're looking for people to step up to the challenge and help them to highlight the issue across the UK. So if you're keen to take part in a virtual event, and there are 60 or more fundraising ideas on the website, then please, you'll find all the details on the website, which I'm displaying on screen, and which also the link is in the description for this week's Dr. Tech Show YouTube recording, which you can find now there if you can be bothered, or you can look for it later. So the week rounds off with what they call their much loved Spectrum Night Walk, London and Manchester, on the 2nd of April. So if you can make it in person to either London or Manchester on the night of the 2nd of April, then that's one thing that you can do. So that's World Autism Week. The next one that we're mentioning today is, here it is, National Walk to Work Day. I only live 10 minutes from my work, so it's not a challenge for me really, unless it's really, really dreadful weather to walk to work. And anyway, I'm working at home mainly at the moment. I don't know about you. I think you probably have experienced that anyway. So get involved in National Walk to Work Day, which is on Friday, April the 1st. No, really. So taking simple steps to improve your health can pay dividends years down the line, and getting involved in National Walk to Work Day on the 1st of April could help to put you on the right track to a healthier you. Not only this, but this annual event encourages you to be mindful of your carbon footprint. Walking can help to clear the mind, burn calories, and get your heart pumping. And doing this before work could encourage and influence you to eat healthier throughout the day. All sounds great. With the clocks changing and the mornings getting lighter, there's no better time to take part in an event like this. You never know, it could lead to a newfound enthusiasm for walking and become a daily or weekly occurrence. Guaranteed you will feel the benefit of your walk, no matter how short a journey it is. And
well, I'm just looking at my if I was walking to work, Sweyn, it would take me an hour and a half. So I don't think I'll be doing that somehow.
Well, you see, I used to have a friend who lived about probably 25 miles away from work, and he used to park his car 20 minutes walk away. So it's not just about
I could do 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's not I'm not going to read any more of this website. You can find it on the website. Summarize. But no, I think I've heard it. I haven't seen it suggested in this, but that people are always suggesting you don't have to walk all the way to work. You can get off the bus early, or you can park somewhere that's you know, a reasonable number of minutes walk from your work. So
yeah. Okay.
So that's me. Over to you, Pauline.
Okay, great. And a couple of events that we've picked up that might be of interest to our listeners and viewers. On the 29th of March, which is tomorrow, is the West Midlands Tech Review. And according to the blurb, the West Midlands is the place to be right now for tech and digital, officially the fastest growing tech economy in the UK. Now, that's PR, so I'm not going to say that's gospel, but it's interesting to see. The region is set to add £2.7 billion to the economy by 2025 and create an extra 52,000 tech roles. Now, I am interested in that, especially if they're for women and minoritized groups. So this event, which I am going to be going to tomorrow, it's going to be held at the majestic Great Hall of the University of Birmingham, and it's going to be 500 of us coming together to network over drinks and canapes, which I haven't had for a while, inspirational talks and new opportunities. And we're also going to be launching the Region's Tech Review, which is a report which will highlight our key successes and look ahead to a future full of exciting opportunities. So Sweyn is scrolling through the Eventbrite page as we speak, and the Chris Philp, the MP and Minister for Tech and the Digital Economy, is going to be there. So I'm looking forward to pressing the flesh, as they say, with the great and the good. Scrolling down, we have Kim Leary, Julian David, Sarah Windrum, who's the chairperson of Coventry Warwickshire LEP, Lee Jones, Dan Barlow, Prashant Pillai, Director of the Cyber Quarter, and George Windsor, Head of Insights at TechNation. So a good range of people who from across the Midlands. And we haven't had, obviously, like most areas, we haven't had many get-togethers recently, so people are eager to get out, I think, and kind of discover what's been happening behind closed doors.
All those guests plus drinks and canapes. What could possibly go wrong?
Exactly. More to be revealed. We'll talk about that next week, maybe. Okay, and a couple of other events are this one I thought was interesting because we don't often talk about fashion, and we don't. So I just picked this one up on Wednesday, 30th of March. Is digital fashion in the digital economy. And the blurb says, do you want to learn more about the next frontier of circular fashion? So this is an interactive online 9-week webinar series for 2022, Fashion Recreated, to share the new creative fashion platform, D-Sphere, empowering consumers to design, impact, and celebrate fashion. So, okay, it might be kind of selling, but it's also, I think, of interest to people who just want to get involved in changing the face of fashion. So the webinar series is free and anyone could take part, and it's include topics led by experts in technology, fashion, as well as featured brands, customers, and organizations fueling the transformation from linear to circular fashion. So that, to my understanding, that's kind of people who reuse, repurpose clothing, so it doesn't all just go to waste. The blurb continues to say, discover innovative solutions, opportunities for consumers to be the solution to climate change via Fashion Recreated, the new medium of storytelling via fashion stories and humanizing fashion through connections with garment workers. And that particularly caught my eye because I thought, well, that must be good if it's involving the people who are at the front line of creating fashion. So yes, that looks interesting, and there's several of those sessions coming up. And the last one,
approach to fashion, I just don't buy any clothes ever, hardly.
That's not quite true, Sweyn, but yeah, we get what you mean. And I'm trying to buy less and less. My consultant for decluttering is someone I keep in my head when I think about buying something.
Excellent.
I really want that, and it's one in, one out, so. Is what you're getting better than something you already have.
That's right.
And the final event before we come to our special guest is on Thursday, 31st of March, again in Birmingham, or at least for the Midlands, our Smart Brum, which is a panel discussion with open Q&A. And our Smart Brum aims to connect the next generation with experienced and seasoned industry professionals to create an ecosystem for Birmingham's transition to a smart city. And it points out, as we know, many tech meetup events are only accessible by tech professionals, but this is an inclusive space for all to meet, collaborate, learn, and create. So this event, they're having them about monthly, and this March event is bringing a live panel discussion from industry experts and professionals in the industry experts in the areas of smart city, 5G, blockchain, Internet of Things, green energy, and electric vehicles. So I'm looking forward to fewer canapes and fizzy drinks and more chat about things that will make a difference in the world, I think.
That looks
Yeah.
great. That looks like
Not
a great event.
that the tech view won't make a difference, but
Of course.
sorry, I'm getting myself into all kinds of trouble here.
But
Let's press on.
moving on.
Yes, moving on. Let's welcome our special guest, Dr. Jacqui Taylor. Jacqui and I met at a UK Gov camp, I believe, several years ago. And like a lot of our guests here, we sometimes don't realize how how in depth they are, how involved they are in other parts of the world. We just like to have interesting people on who we like and we think we can have a good chat with. So we're honored to have Jacqui here with us today. According to her bio, she's the 15th most influential woman in UK technology and the 21st most inspiring women in cyber. And she was awarded an honorary Doctorate of Science in recognition of her international web science work on inclusion for the industrial Internet of Things. She was one of the 250 founders of Tech City. And in 2016, she pivoted her company FlyingBinary to meet the challenges of the metaverse and the industrial Internet of Things with spectacular results. She's recognized as one of the 100 global leaders, is the top 10 global Internet of Things innovator, and an independent industry analyst for international Internet of Things, an expert advisor to the European Commission in a Firestarter role for the future digital economy, with a specific focus on innovation and improving the health and well-being outcomes for 450 million citizens. An impact entrepreneur, most influential UK web scientist in 2021, top 34 IoT influencers on Twitter. She was shortlisted for a Cybersecurity Industry Award and invited to speak in Davos on the future of the cybersecurity industry. She's globally recognized as the world's first smart city czar and a strategic advisor to the UK government, cities lead on Digital Built Britain, principal UK expert lead for BSI International Team for Technology, Data, Smart Cities and AI, and has recently taken on an appointment back in the UK in the Cabinet Office to create the open standards for the UK government, and is an expert advisor to the United Nations for the 2030 plan. And the last part of this, before we start speaking to Jacqui, she has founded the Empathy Economy to share the secrets of her global success plan with entrepreneurs via a unique membership offering. And this launches in 2022. And Jacqui has personally committed to support 1 million entrepreneurs with resources to meet the challenges of a post-isolation economy and transition them to grow their companies in the IoT. Jacqui, you're extremely welcome to the show. We're delighted to have you. Well done for everything. It's an amazing career so far.
Yeah, I'm delighted to be here with you both, and it's lovely to have a snapshot to talk about change, where all the people in the room believe in that. So I'm delighted to be here, and I'm hopeful that your audience are the same sort. We don't have the world that we want, so we need to be part of the creation of that. And our mission at FlyingBinary is inclusion, and by that we mean leave no one behind. And technology and the industrial Internet of Things is the enabler, but currently as we're positioned, we will leave people behind. Yeah. Approximately 20% of the world. Not on my watch. So everything you've just read out is the delivery of that mission.
Absolutely.
Great, brilliant. And I love the phrase empathy economy, but some people won't be familiar with it. So can you explain a bit more about what it is and where it came from?
Yeah, sure. So you mentioned many things in the intro. One of the things you mentioned was Tech City. So I'm one of the 250 founders, that rabble in Shoreditch, which were a national joke back in 2009. I was actually back in the same building in Shoreditch last week, ready for the next launch. And it was a real, I'm Irish, and so the wheel makes a full turn. You know, we go back to the beginning to create the next leap. That was exactly it. And what it was in doubling down initially, I was literally across the road from where we started Tech City to gather people together with the message to get all ideas, because good ideas come from everywhere. It was a car park with a red tarpaulin. If any of you ever met me there, we held our first festival there. And today it's a very smart but homogenous office building. But I was in the T building across the road last week. And what we did when we used to meet, we met every Friday from 2009. We used to get together, all of us. And then one day we grew up and I opened Google Campus, and we had not just a tarpaulin, we had an actual building, we had snacks and pizzas, and we dealt with all the topics and what have you. And what we created there is the sharing economy for the UK. That was the origins of it. And now we have 5.5 million businesses across the UK, almost 40% of GDP, that have leveraged that. Fantastic. But in December 2016, I was sat with 220 of those founders in our enclave in Canary Wharf and talking about the need to change, talking about Brexit being a systemic shock across our industry, irrespective of whatever else it was going to do, and we need to change things. And one of the wags there sort of said to me, you know, you're talking about all of this, but there's only you that understands this. You're the only person that understood it in 2009. So this must be your job then. And I thought, you know, you're not wrong. So I spent 2017 working out what that job was. I founded the empathy economy, in my view, on that night on December 2016. And the question I set myself to answer was, what follows the sharing economy? Because the sharing economy was about tech being an enabler. No, tech's become the outcome. It's in the hands of a few. Does it deliver anything like a diversity or inclusion agenda? No. And so it's like pretty much everything we set out to do, we failed at. So what would the alternative look like? And that was a great belief that technology is the enabler, but not the way we'd built it, because it became in the hands of the few. And we still got a very, particularly during the pandemic, active mergers and acquisitions where those same tech companies, the FANGs as they're lovingly known, keep buying up people that challenge. So it's like, what would we do?
The FANGs.
The FANGs.
Could you explain what that is?
Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google. Yeah. So they keep buying up people in a period of time. So sorry. Welcome to my world. And so it was a question of, well, it can't be that then. So everything we set out to do. And then there was a second piece of this, the dark web side of it, my web science piece of it, in enabling all of us what we do, what we'd also done is lit a fire under criminals across the world. And that particularly for me, in my counterterrorism world, was not okay on my watch. So it needed to be something else. It needed to be enabled by technology, but not that technology. And so essentially, I set out in 2017 to answer that question, which I did. And then I got the opportunity to work at G20 level in 2018. And then I got the opportunity to speak at Davos about the future of cybersecurity, which was a very short talk, though there isn't one. And then I provided the evidence from 4 million people across the world. Because I'm a co-founder of the data journalism industry, and we have 34 million people that keep us on track across the world every single day with our journalism. But 4,000 of those answered me what we call in my counterterrorism world, the wicked questions. Only you out there who know what you need can tell us the answer to these questions. And I literally dropped that rock in the pond in Davos. And one of my NATO colleagues said to me, I've seen you do some stuff, Jacqui, but when will the ripples stop from that? And the answer is they haven't.
Well, they won't.
So that was challenging opinion to 3,000 world leaders with evidence that they were wrong. And so it's really unfolded from there. And so what does that technology look like? And people possibly know about this in terms of Industry 4.0. It's not that, because that's the robots take over, dystopia, we're all doomed. No, that doesn't have to be our future. But if we continue with the sharing economy, we do sleepwalk our way there. And so the empathy economy is using tech and building tech for the industrial Internet of Things on a different basis to the sharing economy. The sharing economy says we do lots of these things open, we do them for free, but what happened with that was we became the product. Our privacy, security, drugs trafficking, people trafficking, terrorism became the result, not the right model. So this is a decentralized model. It's technology being built in a decentralized way, which is what we all possibly know as Web3, and it's nothing to do with crypto, but it's about actually all of us holding a piece of that puzzle, all of us contributing. The difference, the major difference between the sharing economy, which has failed in my view, and what I'm talking about is shared values. And for us as a company, inclusion is that shared value, leave no one behind. And so rather than competition, sharing economy, it's collaboration, empathy economy. Rather than organizationals, M&A, it's collaboration between organizations and partnerships.
M&A?
mergers and acquisitions. We don't buy our future.
Yeah.
We
Sorry,
actually,
I'll just keep asking.
Yeah.
No,
Keep going.
absolutely interrupt.
I work in IT, so I try to collect these acronyms and
I think
so
you're.
that,
Yeah, I appreciate that, Sweyn. So that, in a nutshell, is it. And FlyingBinary has been building that technology since 2017. So where are we today? Is the next question. We have over 100 million entrepreneurs in 171 countries that are brought on board to those shared values. And now we're ready to mobilize. And I personally committed to mobilize 1 million entrepreneurs out of that wider ecosystem to make that change happen.
Great.
Excellent.
Thanks, Jacqui. That's a really comprehensive explanation. And I think because we and the program, we try to bring people on a journey and kind of open them up to things they might not have heard of before. Obviously, you want to reach as many people as you possibly can of like-minded and others as well, because let's face it, we have to reach everybody, and we have to know what the people who don't agree with us also think, so we can hopefully bring them around to our point of view, or at least share our thinking.
Well, improve all our understanding. I mean, I spend all my time with people that don't agree with me. So I have to understand what they know, where they think I'm wrong. So I'm a science diplomat, and that's the official hat I wear for that.
That's a great
but people who don't agree with us give us our biggest opportunities, in my view.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. So it's useful as well for our listeners and readers to hear where this all started from. Like you yourself, when you started on digital, none of us are going to see 20, shall we say, again. When did it all start for you?
So it's a really interesting question, that, and mostly I never get asked that. So I'm an aerospace engineer. So everything I've just said, you're like, huh? And you might well.
Are we allowed to make the rocket science joke? No.
Yeah. Well, I can legitimately say it's not rocket science because I actually employ rocket scientists. So it's like, and don't call me a futurist. I don't have a crystal ball. I build that future. I engineer that future. So that is really a good point. That's when I love that. So for me, at 16, my studies were interrupted. My mother got taken very ill, very seriously ill, and died a few months later. So I had to abandon my studies at 16 and look after keep the family together. And for the next 5 years, it was just awful. I worked 6 days a week. I'd taken a job in an aerospace factory. I was studying part-time. So that was 6 days a week plus 2 nights. And I just kept that show on the road, very barely at times. But at the end of that, with my aerospace work as an underpinning, which I went in as a summer intern and didn't leave because my personal circumstances were such that I needed some way of getting out from this. And so one of the things I did throughout that journey was to get my degree in a vocational way. It was a new route for aerospace engineering. What we are calling apprenticeship today in our industrial Internet of Things, it was that route. I was only the second year. I was only the second female. I was only ever the first female in anything in engineering. And we looked at that vocational route, which allowed me to study, at the weekends and go to study at night and then work full time. And one of the things that I did in my final year for my dissertation is I got to choose my research area, and I chose something practical from the company. We were re-envisaging the aerospace industry. We were looking at how we might solve the noise pollution that our aircraft create across the world, and fantastic new jet engine technology from Rolls-Royce. And I got to write the business plan for that aircraft. Dissertation marked under armed guard. Left with the college prize, into production for that aircraft. Wait, what? No, because I was female. Their first off-plan aircraft were for a Middle Eastern customer, and I was off the project.
Oh.
So my MD was a pilot friend of mine, and he said, what happens when you put an aerospace engineer into a computer department? And the answer to that question is nothing moves out of it for 6 weeks, because my thought was horror. I'm an engineer. what on earth are you doing?
What are these people doing?
What are you doing? And so that became software engineering in the aerospace industry, because a bunch of people agreed with me. I was very much the junior member of that team. And so I think that sort of it began there, where I was dropped into technology very much against my will. A societal focus for my dissertation, because what impact does that industry have on the world? And that's been a theme throughout my entire career. But I don't know where that came from. That was just me and the way I look at the world, I think. Yeah. And then coming back full tilt at 2009, 20th anniversary of the web, in the Royal Society with Tim Berners-Lee. And I thought, I know what we're going to do for the sharing economy, industrial Internet of Things. And most people are going, spell that for me, please. But
well, spell it out. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. But that was my engineering with the technology industry that I'd made a career out of back together. And so that's how you get to the empathy economy from from there.
So what is the industrial Internet of Things, if we don't quite?
Yeah, and that's a good point. So all of us have these things today. They're all. Can I even do that on a Zoom?
Oh, you got
smartphone. A smartphone. Yeah.
Smartphone. Yeah. Yeah. No, that doesn't work well. Yeah. So all of us have those things today, and they're all endpoints, and they can be connected to things. Often they're connected to Wi-Fi routers and what have you. But actually, if you think of everything in the world being technology enabled, when you connect that fabric across the world, there's 9 billion of those endpoints sprinkled across the world at the moment. Then that's the industrial Internet of Things. Okay. When you don't always have a human in the loop, where a robot can be as much of a linchpin as a human, when the fabric of the world is connected with technology, that's the industrial Internet of Things.
And the other main topic for this show is about communications, Jacqui. So what would you say, you mentioned that you were one of the founders of data journalism. What would you, how would you describe your online communications journey, Twitter and other social media platforms? What's your connection with them?
So, I mean, I know most of the founders and I've worked with them all across this journey. That's sharing economy technology, though. Any of the social platforms are sharing economy. Now, that's not quite true, because I'm about to change the world at a global level on this agenda, which I can't announce today because that's not till May. I have it seeded.
We'll have you back in May.
I've seeded it already. I got international agreement 6 months ago, but I've been delivering on that, and that will finalise in May. But those social platforms know game up. They already know that. They know they're going to be replaced, and some of them are navigating that. Some of them have actually joined the empathy economy. So I've pressed reset with some of those companies, some of those fangs, and some of them have run in the other direction. Yeah. And so essentially, they are not the future. So when the empathy economy launches, it will launch with a replacement for Facebook, for example, because we won't need it anymore. We'll be done. We are already done now, but those million entrepreneurs won't build their businesses with that social platform, for example. Now that can replace lots of others, but it will definitely replace that one. And so we're already working on that for our wider network, our wider collaboration across the world. But delivering your business using that new platform, that empathy economy tech, is what the million entrepreneurs will use.
Is that just? I'm struggling with that slightly. Is that those businesses breaking away from the dominance of Facebook and maybe Google in terms of advertising and marketing and paid promotion, and instead of using those old sharing economy platforms, launching and then using something new to deliver all their services on? Wow.
Yes, because the sharing economy is built on a business model of freemium. This for free, this to pay. Yeah, that's what's got us to here. That's why we've got the problem. And so what do you do? What do you replace it with? And this is the work I did in 2017. And of course, I've taken across the world, and over 1 million entrepreneurs have given me feedback on all the things I've done wrong and where it won't work and what they need. And that's all I want to do. I've been in major listening mode since 2017. So this tech is tech we own. in collaboration with other companies that are taking this journey with us. And so effectively, we won't use that freemium model anymore. That's not how we'll build it.
Right.
We've got a completely new business model for the empathy economy, and it's based on trust and shared values.
And
Did you say the old saying that if you're getting access to something free, then you yourself are the product?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's my. If anybody's heard me speak before, they'll have heard me say those exact words, Sweyn. Because that's exactly.
Maybe I've heard you speak and they've gone in.
Yeah.
Who knows?
No idea. I didn't invent them, but the reality of it is, from a web science point of view, I've proved that to 180 nations.
And it really is more and more disturbing. The more you think about that and understand all the implications, the more really dubious and upsetting it becomes, really.
Which means that my work with digital literacy is going to change, which is very exciting. But I've been, excitedly reading bits and pieces that you've trailed on this, Jacqui, and it's just, I'm ready for it, and I hope the rest of the world is going to be the rest of the world's not eager.
But we are all, and I give you an exclusive because I can actually tell you this now. I'll open 2 empathy economy schools this year, one in the US and one in the UK. Schools, yeah, because the web science work that I was awarded the honorary doctorate for was Gen Z, 29 and under. And then at Davos, I used that opportunity to announce we were abandoning Gen Z because they were good. Gen Z did not agree with me. But in 2019, when I made that statement, I knew that by 2020, they would influence 40% of the economic systems across the world. So they no longer needed to mobilize. If anybody's raised Gen Z, as I have, mobilizing is not something you need to do with them.
It's not a problem, is it? No. Just kind of
Gen Z entrepreneurs
there.
Often done. Yeah. So then we changed the agenda in January 2019 to build the technology for Gen Alpha. Gen Alpha are 18 to 8 today, but actually Gen Beta as well, because Gen Beta won't wait. They were completely, they are sort of 7 and under. Our youngest entrepreneur is 5. And so I've had to amend that because Gen Beta are not going to wait. They're, I've got my youngest billionaire is 11. And so the reality of it is it can't, I'm too slow. Get on with it, Professor. I'm like, yeah, I'm on it. Yeah. So I think that for me, it's about understanding what they need to enable their talents across the world. And I love the intro you did about inclusion, particularly about autism. I've got my first autistic entrepreneur just enrolling in she's just finishing her degree, and she's just enrolling in her MSc, and she's going to be articulating, not me, of exactly how we push that forward. Now she's going to be doing that through the empathy economy, but these young people, they just need some resources, they need some support, and they need for us to get out of the way, and that's the empathy economy.
Absolutely.
So are people kind of breaking down your door, Jacqui? I'd like to think they are, or at least that they will be.
With money, Pauline, you know how that is not a good thing. So the empathy economy schools, I've had offers of millions to do that, but money comes with strings.
Yeah.
And so I'm actually doing the US land and the UK land on that via my own network, and people have stood up to do that. Very different initiative in the US because it works differently there, education, than to the UK. But then I'll have 2 completely separate models, and then they can put their 1 million sterling investments into the foundation that will scale that. But
you'll have set the rules by then, and it'll be a thing that exists rather than a thing that might be.
Gen Alpha and Gen Beta have told us what we needed. We'll have got out of their way, and we'll deliver tech to do it. And then you can fund the scaling of that tech. But it's their voices that will determine it. And it'll sit alongside our education system and our curriculum and everything else. But as entrepreneurs, as young as 5, they want to get going alongside what we traditionally did as perhaps when we were 18 or beyond, or in my case 11. But I think that they need technology to do different things. They need connectivity and the empathy economy business models to be available to them when they decide. And so far, my youngest is 5.
Excellent.
Wow. So if you're talking to this about this to the person in the street, Jacqui? What effect will it have on their lives?
So I think that it's a really good question. That at the moment I'm mobilizing entrepreneurs. I've obviously got the empathy economy schools as well, which I didn't expect to be doing. I thought that was 3 years in my future. But as I explained, Gen Alpha and Gen Beta have a different view on this matter. So we're
just remind us,
mobilized.
Gen Alpha, what birth years are we talking about?
Yeah, so these are social generations as opposed to
Yes.
anybody who's got a statistical background going to shout up the screen
Yes,
this moment. So 18 to 8 for Gen Alpha, and then 7 and under for Gen Beta.
As of this year.
Yeah, as of this year, and of course I roll that forward each year.
Okay.
And then Gen Z, who all started 29 to 19.
Yeah.
And so for them, sorry, Pauline, in explaining that.
So the person in the street, how will they understand the empathy economy and the effect it'll have on them?
Well, it's been very interesting going across the world to understand what the ordinary people think of the sharing economy via our data journalism work, because there's only 8% of us that can do the sorts of things we're talking about. The other 92% want to consume it, but it's been very interesting how knowledgeable everyday people are about technology being bad. And what they mean is sharing economy, technology being bad. I became the world's first smart city czar when they first got hold of that in 2018. And that has been a rising conversation. And I suppose what they talk to me about, because Gen Beta talked to me about what their parents are not doing right and how I can help them get them out of the way. But what they talk to me about is the online world isn't about trust, and it should be. Why isn't it? And about we've lost our humanity is what the ordinary person. They feel that technology has invaded their lives, and particularly over the last couple of years during pandemic, it's been the reason that people have managed their lives. It's been an enabler, but there's still a real wariness around trust to do with that. So I often, when I'm having those conversations, either data journalism work or perhaps as part of the UN work I'm doing, I often talk about moving to a trusted space. So for example, if I was talking to entrepreneurs today, I'm sure some of you listening are, I would say 12% of your turnover on average across the world is being used to fund drugs trafficking, people trafficking, and terrorism. That's where they get their money from. Your turnover is 12% lower because of that, and that evil is done using that because of the way the dark web works, the way crypto is working, etc. And there's not anybody in all the environments that I speak that is unmoved by that or is unaware of it. What can I do is usually the next question they ask.
Yeah.
I want that to change. What can I do? And often communities are very concerned about the the criminal activities that are focused on our children across the world, and that's been an agenda across the pandemic. That FlyingBinary, we've been heavily involved in getting the criminals, ensuring the criminals don't have access to our children. But many communities start there in terms of protecting our children online and what we need to do about it. And most people understand that we've just got to a place we didn't navigate to. We've ended up here, and it's the wrong place.
So do you think that the values and the approach that you're talking about here, do you think that the regulatory regime and the government, well, there's the online harms bill, for example, going through. Do you think they've caught up? Are they in front of the curve and alongside you, or are they still catching up with sharing economy stuff?
No, they're with me. So there's 180 nations with me. That's the UN work I've been doing. But in coming home and taking the parliamentary appointment in Cabinet Office, we're missing some essential building blocks. And so the open standards that we're releasing, there's news on that this week, for example, will create more of a sharing economy model as a foundation for it. In terms of regulatory, I think that's really interesting. Online harm's been heavily involved in that, obviously. But we're currently in partnership with the UK's Information Commissioner to show how, we build deep tech, to show how you can navigate this journey with deep technology, AI in this case, in one of the most complex settings, which is acute mental health provision in our NHS. So couldn't pick a more difficult journey. to illustrate how technology is the enabler for that regulatory change. So we've used the AADC, the Age Appropriate Design Code from the UK's GDPR to show how you change the way you build technology. And we're getting close to finishing that project now, and I will be releasing in public the details around that. But that has enabled us to have that regulatory conversation at a really granular level. That's with great. The technology in front of them. So with an actual, it's there. And just a follow on from that, Sweyn, is we don't cut a line of code until the regulation's in. So I'm one of the original authors of Prince and SSADM, and we've replaced it. We've replaced it by something we call regulation by design, and we use that reg by design, or R by D as we call it, to build our deep tech. And that's what's gone into the regulatory sandbox, and that's what we've been working with the ICO on, and we're due to release on.
Wow, it's amazing.
So, and if people, I know that you've, as I said, you trailed some things about what your thinking is, Jacqui. What's your latest? Where can people find more about this online if they want to kind of follow up themselves?
Yeah, I mean, you flash the FlyingBinary website up there. It's great. There's nothing on there that a criminal can use. So it's great. Come and have a look if you like. But that's just a shop window for saying it's us. Move on by. But I think, Sweyn, you've got the next URL given you. This is the portal to the empathy economy. It's just gone live. The buttons on there, the find out more buttons, and all the other buttons will lead you to be able to register to know the next steps on the empathy economy. There's a couple of freebies on there that'll tell you a little bit of resources we're releasing for free. We're doing a blog. Some of it's data journalism, Pauline, so you'll love that. Yep. And I think that essentially this is the public face of what I've talked about. You can register to get on the wait list, and then I'll keep you informed from empathy economy tech, not in sharing economy, what's going on. So this is my welcome to the empathy economy for everybody.
Great.
And the link to that is, as usual, in the description of the YouTube.
Thank you.
Video that will become, well, it's a live event at the moment, but it will become a recording as soon as we're finished.
So in your digital life, Jacqui, what kind of challenges have you faced? You've been around a while now. You must have faced some interesting things and overcome some things, if you're happy to share any of those.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I told you about my early start, which prepared me for all the things that I've had to overcome since. Being a female engineer is no fun, I can tell you that. And any entrepreneur who's female can tell you it's no fun. We get no share of funding, which is why I'm well known for taking on the venture capitalists and well known for my teaching on bootstrapping. But I think the difficult one for me was 7 years ago. I took a fall as I was. Had a fall and took the full weight of a rather large vehicle on my body, which was a shock to my system, and I became visually disabled. So I've had 2 eye operations already. I've got another 3 to go, a minimum. And actually, inclusion was a societal thing for me, but 7 years ago it became a personal thing, because doing what I do, navigating the world as I did really every week before pandemic, and even going back to Shoreditch last week, is actually a hostile activity for me. But I do navigate that myself, and I find that that's given me, probably is one of the reasons that I've doubled down on the empathy economy, because in my European role, for example, we've got 80 million people across Europe that actually have that same hostile experience every day. And inclusion, leave no one behind, has to become real. And for me, it became personal and real, I think 7 years ago when I had that accident. And then last summer, where we were traveling back from mobilizing a group of entrepreneurs in the UK, and our car was taken out across 3 live lanes of the M1, and basically we had to be cut from the car. And I ran the global tech change I was talking about earlier from the trauma center of an A&E hospital. And the reason I did that is I came in and the registrar registered me and everything, And a couple of the senior staff said, "Oh, are you that Jacqui Taylor?" And I was like, "I don't know, am I?" And I just released a book in fact, it's here again, I probably can't show it you. I just released a book called Resilient Voices, which was to celebrate 73 years of the NHS. Because I'm the only technologist that's ever put tech across the entire NHS. And they had my book on the ward. So they set me up a space for me to be able to run the global technology industry before I got my CAT scan. So, you know, at the end of the day, and I've just published an article on this in a magazine for International Women's Day that goes across the world. And what I've said is, don't learn to survive things like that. Learn to thrive from them, because that's what they fought. They're not designed to stop you. They're designed to sort of clear the way and bring clarity to what you do. So I think those are a couple of personal things that are, you know, obviously on the one in July 21, you know, I was just literally, I've got an international meeting to run. I need your help. And they're like, yeah, absolutely. Set me up and did what we did. And the CAT scan wasn't available anyway, so I had to just lie there in my body brace and did it that way. But those things can either defeat you or be your reason. And I think resilience is what we all as change makers, as global change makers, need to develop, that resilience, because we're unstoppable with shared values on a basis of trust. And that's the empathy economy. And whether everybody joins the empathy economy, I have no idea. And I really don't care. But those of us that believe in what I'm talking about will be there, and we'll support that change across the world, because it's what the world needs to see.
It sounds irresistible, and you know, I'll certainly be referencing it in fact, I'm going to be using an excerpt from this for my presentation at Donut Economics on Thursday. I'm doing a course with Civic Square in Birmingham, and well, it's internet, it's global, it's kind of just learning cohorts all around the country. I'm doing the storytelling part, which is I'm really enjoying telling stories. But yeah, it just sounds like there's something in it for everybody, and the trust is so key to all the work we've done really on this show, and all the work in my life. Really, it's a really grounded value for me. So it's really great to hear that, and it sounds like it's got something for everybody.
Apart from if you're making money in the sharing economy, at which point you're not going to like it at all.
Okay, everybody accept
that. Yeah. But then again, you know, if you think that that's your agenda, you're welcome to continue it. I'm not saying anything about the sharing economy, just saying there's an alternative now. We built that for the 20th anniversary of the web in 2009, and here we are now in 2022. Here's its successor. And you do what you need. But it is resonating, Pauline, and thank you for that. And I always make any of these resources that I share in public for anybody to use in any which way. And I've got some new resources coming online very soon for one of the social platforms that decided to make the change. You'll be surprised. And you'll see that, because we're connected on that one. And I'd love for you to join in on that and bring your views and bring your questions, because this is now, I'm opening this up now. Good ideas come from everywhere, but we have to listen and we have to work together, particularly with those people that don't agree with us. And so that's the next phase. The membership will open, you join me or you don't, but we need this new agenda, this debate to happen. And I'm thrilled that this platform's opened up what I'm about to share.
Well, that's a fantastic teaser for what's just about to,
absolutely.
Just about to be released.
Sweyn, can I leave you for a minute? My washing machine is going mad in the background. I'm just going to turn it off.
One of us always has to go and do something during a show, usually. So, well, not always.
It's so very human, this show. I love it.
Well, we have a complete aversion to editing, you see. So, editing is time you never get back in your life.
That's a great philosophy. Love that.
I mean, you can take it to extremes as well, like everything else. No, so we'll be looking keenly for these initiatives that you mentioned to make it into the public realm. So that's great. Yes, Pauline, you're back.
So, Jacqui, when you're not doing all this wonderful kind of technology side of things, do you have time for, you know, things that refresh your spirit and kind of give you more?
Yeah, I'm a mixed media textile artist. I actually started that with a group of Gen Z pupils at school, was so bored. by the curriculum. And the thing I should say is I'm not a STEM advocate. I'm a STEAM advocate. So STEAM inserts the word art.
Yes.
So my mixed media textile art is around, understanding all of that. But it's always been for me around circular economy. It's all been about reuse and recycle and waste and all of that, but actually being more purposeful about what we do. I'm a very keen gardener, so this is delight because it's gardening time again. I actually find myself out there. And the thing that I did on my birthday this year, which was the 1st of January, is I started something new. I'm actually an empath, and I have a mentor who is an empath and runs a clinical service. And she's been supporting me since the accident in July of last year. And what she said to me is, you need to get outside. And so each day I'm now walking outside. And again, you covered that. I felt like you'd set all those things up for this, for me. What I find is that grounds me, connecting, but I'm very lucky to live in a beautiful place that's part of a national park. And so I have a square I live in with a green and what have you. So I'm the COVID coordinator for 2,000 houses locally, but we're in an urban setting. But so it's things like that. And then my house is my canvas. So my husband is my co-founder, and he shares that. Let's create an environment where we thrive.
Yeah, that's very important.
That's our canvas,
Kind of start at home and don't focus on that, but work out from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, our boy, who's 29 today, not a boy anymore, our son, who is making stuff happen in the synthetic media part of the world, which is empathy economy too. Not that it's set out to be, but he shares those values. Was one of the global gaming influencers at 30, under 30 at 20.
So we're talking about the gaming industry, as we might call it.
Yeah. At 21, he was one of the 30 under 30 global gaming influencers. And he's got that same empathy economy focus of inclusion. I think that, it's very interesting that you can walk the walk, and it's something that not just him, but many people have just absorbed, and it's the value thing again.
Yeah, it's really interesting how I've had a few really interesting conversations just very recently with 2 or 3 different people who are autistic, and it came up in response to kind of, are we all going to work hybrid now after the pandemic, or are we all going to go back into our office and all that? And it was just, I didn't really necessarily know that one of these people was autistic, but just a whole range of issues that come up when you start to talk about inclusion at a granular level, because there seems, when you first look at it, there seems to be a massive number of different and apparently contradictory vulnerabilities. So some people need one way of doing something, some people need the opposite way of doing something. So if you're trying to include them all into one thing, it's going to take a lot of thought. And I love the phrase, the empathy economy, because it kind of starts with that. You've got to be able to envisage what the various range of requirements are before you start kind of providing things, I guess.
Well, yeah, and I think you've hit on something that you didn't understand you'd hit on, but that's actually where it started. Because our son was 8 and we discovered he was different. He had learning differences. He's a visual dyspraxic. And by the time he was, I think, 10, I was in the High Court with 257 education specialists challenging the exam regulator in High Court. Because for these young people, technology is their enabler. That's their lifeline to the world.
Yeah.
And so essentially, that's where Tim Berners-Lee found me doing that work and said, I want you here because you don't quite know what you're doing, what you're enabling, what you're unlocking, but I want to loop you in because this is the 20th anniversary of the web. The next 10 years needs to be different. And so my answer to that question was to create the data journalism industry. So with Simon Rogers, who's now head of news at Google, he was in The Guardian, and we met I loved his work, he loved my work, and we said, well, we just blend the two together. And when the first cloud service went live for the data journalism industry, what Simon said to me, I wonder if anybody will care. And I said, well, we care. And I remember pressing the button as I said that. And literally we were under siege. 22 million people cared immediately. And so we knew that actually all of that technology that was originally built for the data journalism industry was built with our learning differences in there for Generation Z. Whereas Gen Alpha and Gen Beta's learning differences are different.
Yes.
And so if all you do is a sharing economy, that's 20% of the world that you don't enable. So then it's really been that very long journey from 2009 to now to understand how to make that resonant, how to make it truly inclusive.
Yes.
And then, you know, as I said, I've got a PhD, an MSc who will go on to do a PhD, and she's ADHD, and she's unlocked some part of the technology world as part of her dissertation that she needs, that nobody's building. Of course, we're now building it. But the thing that I often say, Sweyn, on this is those learning differences are learning differences we need to learn. So I have a young man who's in Japan who is a non-verbal autistic. He has no language, and he's written a book.
Yeah.
You can do that in the empathy economy.
Yeah.
And why does that matter? Not for him. He's written a book so people like me can understand what he brings to the world.
Absolutely.
No,
absolutely.
and I think that that's a really important point you make there.
Well,
these young people can unlock this world that we have.
It's interesting that you mentioned your time in the High Court, because without saying too much, one of the people I've been speaking to recently is currently taking a case through the Scottish courts to try and encourage a learning institution to take some of this more seriously than they have heretofore. So we'll see how
lots
that
still to do, Sweyn, on all of this. I mean, I know it's an area that Pauline and I share a huge interest.
I'll definitely be putting your empathy economy stuff in front of her eyes in case she hasn't seen it already.
and what I say, and as you're connected in and as you're welcomed in, and I start to share the resources, I'm actually available to support some of this stuff, because it's not just the million entrepreneurs, which I largely know how I'm going to do that, but it's I'm going to facilitate other people utilizing some of this to do their, because this is a collaborative fabric in the same way that the tech is going to be collaborative and a fabric, then this is a human fabric we're talking about here, and we'll collaborate to that change.
I can see myself sharing this widely with all the events I'll be going to, certainly this week and next week, and just give people a kind of an understanding of what's coming, because people need to be prepared and excited about it, as excited as we are, I think, and to feel that they know a human face here. And obviously you're a very human person, Jacqui, so thank you very much for bringing so much to the program today. There was one item we picked up on the stories, Sweyn, I wanted to share, which was about the Ukrainian how cyber crooks are scamming donations to Ukraine. So if we can just finish with that one, if you don't mind.
Of course we can.
That's nonsense.com. And the headline is here's how cyber crooks are scamming fake donations for Ukraine. And I think Sweyn will have it on screen now. Yes. And I just wanted to, because we do talk about people being scammed on this show from time to time, as we know it happens, and this is particularly topical, obviously. As the first line in the article says, scammers, never a crowd to let a humanitarian crisis go to waste, have been exploiting the Russia-Ukraine conflict to solicit fake donations. In fact, there's been a huge surge of scams exploiting the conflict in Ukraine, and the article discusses how to avoid these scams. As we know, people have been donating money to help Ukraine defend itself against Russian forces, and obviously there's emotional triggers here. And what's happening is there are emails coming where donations are being solicited, people asking me to click on links to share funding and so on. There's various pictures of scam websites, but if you go to the very bottom of the article, it just gives you some tips on how to avoid or, you know, can be watchful for some of these scams, not to trust unsolicited emails containing links or crypto wallet addresses, even if they appear to be from a reputable source. Not to send cryptocurrency to a wallet address you saw on an email, social media message, or untrusted website. So there are some legitimate sources you can send them to, but unless you're completely sure, please avoid donating via cryptocurrency. And the final bullet point there is be especially cautious of requests to wire money or use gift cards to donate, as these methods are frequently used by scammers to scam victims. And the full article will be linked on this video when it's on YouTube.
Lots of really good information in that one. It's quite astonishing the breadth of ways that people of a criminal mind can think up to scam us out of money.
Yes.
Well, what they attack, what criminals always attack, is our humanity.
Yes.
They work on our emotional response.
Yeah,
that was
definitely.
one of the reasons I called it the empathy economy, because it's the antithesis of that.
Yeah.
The other thing I would
Definitely.
say, if people watching this are looking for somewhere, many of our tech industry have backed an initiative where the Ukrainian Red Cross, who are on the ground doing the humanitarian needs, there's 300 companies on the ground. They're connected into that. Many tech companies, if you make a donation there, they will double it. So
Brilliant.
if you're really stuck, just Ukrainian Red Cross, yes, just Google them. And but anything that involves crypto for any humanitarian need is rarely that.
Yeah.
It's often these days part of a payment option, but it is never the payment option. So paying anything in crypto, always be suspicious.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
We'll put a link to the Ukrainian Red Cross on
We
the
will.
Thank
YouTube
you.
as well.
So Jacqui, finally, when people want to contact you after the program, where's the best place to find you?
Well,
Online.
there's a Jacqui.online, which you're going to put on there, is
Yes.
the portal to the empathy economy. There's a contact on that. You can reach me there. And then I share all my work as well in public on LinkedIn. But you could, wherever you find me, you contact me there. My DMs are open. Depending on what you need, you may need to come onto the Signal platform, which is the only cyber safe platform in the current war crisis in Eastern Europe, to be able to have some of those conversations. So we've got 15,000 organizations in Ukraine that are all working together, and depending on what you want to contact me about, we might need to take it on Signal. But other than that, the Jacqui.online, which is the empathy economy, or LinkedIn's usually easiest. I don't use email.
Yeah.
I'm a non-email child. So, I mean, obviously other people send me email, but rarely would you have an email conversation with me. We'll find a way. And Signal allows us to video call and audio call. So if it needs to be something you need some advice on, don't ever think you're alone. The empathy economy, as I say, is 100 million entrepreneurs across 171 countries. There's always somebody that can help. You just need to let me know you need it. And looking forward to welcome everybody on board. It's going to be a wild ride.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Thanks very much for joining us, Jacqui. Thanks everybody for listening. Have a great week. Bye.
Thanks both. Bye.